In previous videos, we have discussed how to create your own mole conversions when given information. And as we're progressing through this unit, I just want to show you some additional mole conversions you can create. In the past, we looked at if we had one compound of water, we would say that there are 2 atoms of hydrogen in that one compound, 1 atom of oxygen, or we could say there are 3 total atoms in one compound of water. Now we're going to extend that concept out. What if we had 1 mole of water? So if I have 1 mole of water, I know that I have an Avogadro's number of compounds. So I'm going to still use that on here because that will still be helpful. But what I want us to start thinking about now is other mole ratios that actually exist within this. So again, if I have 1 mole of water, I'm going to paste this in just a couple of times here. I actually can say that I have 2 moles of hydrogen atoms. Now that works because if I have 1 mole of water has 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd compounds, and then each compound would have 2 atoms of hydrogen, that would actually give me a total of 2 times 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, which would be 2 moles. I know that sounds confusing over the video, and I apologize for that, but that's how that works. For the same reason, 1 mole of water, we could actually say has 1 mole of oxygen atoms. Another thing that we can do if we would like to is to just make a direct conversion between the atoms. So instead of writing out, 1 compound of water has 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 compound of water has 2 oxygen atoms, I can actually shortcut that as well and just say that 1 mole of oxygen in this compound will contain 2 moles of hydrogen, and that works for this compound. Another way that I could write that is 1 atom of oxygen in one compound would be the equivalent of 2 atoms of hydrogen in that compound. So again, I'm just shifting my perspective. This bottom example right here, I'm really looking at just a single compound. And then in the previous examples, all the previous conversions, I was looking at if I had a mole of that sample, what else would be true? So again, it's just kind of shifting our perspective a little bit and adding to that toolbox of what we can use for conversion factors. This will be incredibly helpful to you as you move on to the next assignment, which is even more advanced mole conversions, where you're going to have to make up a lot more stuff than you have previously done. All right, let's just reinforce that one more time here with this concept of making our own mole conversions. So here, if I have 1 mole of lead 4 sulfate, what would be some things that would be true there? I would encourage you to pause the video and come up with a few examples of your own and then see how well that matches what I'm about to put down here. I'm just going to write this out just a couple of times. Now, I'm not going to do every single conversion here. I'll discuss a few more, but I just wanted to pick up on a few of these. So if I have 1 mole of lead 4 sulfate, I would actually have 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd compounds of that. But if I wanted to just look at atoms or ions, I could say that I have 1 mole of lead 4, or I could just write 1 mole of lead, depending on how I'm counting. Am I counting atoms? Am I counting ions? So it just depends on how I want to portray this particular example. Again, just as a reminder, the mass of lead 4 positive and the mass of lead should really not be changed, because what is giving the mass to the atom is the protons and the neutrons, and what is being lost in lead-4 are electrons. So even though just a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of mass will be lost, if we're using this information or this conversion, both of those conversions should work. All right, another example then that I could use is I could say 1 mole of lead-4 sulfate has 2 moles of sulfate ions, so SO4 2 minus. Again, another one I could do is 1 mole of lead-4 sulfate equals or has 8 moles of oxygen atoms. The one conversion thing that I have not recorded, but I could also add to this, is that 1 mole of lead-4 sulfate would have 2 moles of sulfur atoms. Again, depending on how you want to view this, what perspective you're looking from, what the question is asking you, you can break these things down into their ions, into individual atoms. Once you get to moles, a reminder to you that the sky is the limit, right? You can go from moles of something to the grams of something. You can go from moles to the number of atoms, the number of compounds. The whole purpose of this video is to show you that you can directly compare moles to moles, atoms to atoms. Just kind of looking at this problem one more time, I could write a lot of different conversion factors. For example, I could say 1 atom of lead equals 2 atoms of the sulfur, right? I can do that. Another thing I could say is like 2 atoms of sulfur would be equal to 8 atoms of oxygen. So I can directly compare atoms to atoms within a compound, and I don't have to write out that compound step, which is kind of nice. All right, at this point, this is where Edpuzzle is going to be awesome. I'm gonna ask you guys to check for understanding right now. So on Edpuzzle, what you're gonna see here in just a second is some options for multiple choice on different conversion factors that will work for the chemical formula for calcium chloride. The video is going to automatically pause for you while you're figuring that out. You'll answer the question and then move on to the next compound. All right, next question. What are some things that will work, conversion factors that will work for magnesium hydroxide? Select all of them that would work. Next question, what are the conversion factors that will work for zinc phosphate? Again, select all of the correct options on the Edpuzzle question. Two more examples, sulfuric acid. Again, select all of the conversion factors that will work. And last one, I promise, is calcium acetate. I just need to add in a 2 there to balance that out correctly. Again, what are all of the conversion factors that are written correctly for this one in Edpuzzle? All right, congratulations on making it through your first Edpuzzle quiz. It's just kind of a nice little assessment tool that will give you some feedback as to whether or not you're understanding the concept early on, and then also give me a little bit of feedback for who is struggling with this concept now. At this point, you should attempt to complete the advanced mole conversions worksheet. There are going to be a lot of useful conversions that we just kind of talked about here, so the ways in which we're making conversions that will help you be successful in that assignment. Please note that in that assignment, there are going to be examples of things that are going to have multiple ways to solve it. I'm not going to have the time to write down every single way to solve the problems on the answer key, but just know that if you solved it a different way but got to the right answer, that's the goal. That's the fun of this. There's lots and lots of different pathways you can take to get to the right answer. Good luck, and as always, email me or message me with questions that you have as you are getting stuck in this concept.